All right, guys, we're super excited about our next guest as he was there front and center in Alex Volkanovski's corner and training camp at UFC 284 this past weekend. Four-time Polaris champion, Submission Underground Absolute champion, two-time ADCC silver medalist, BJJ world champion, and let's just be honest, Australian national treasure, Craig Jones. Welcome officially for the very first time on Submission Radio, although we saw you last week. You're back in Austin. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm glad I was able to stir the pot and make it safely back to Austin without any Russians.
Any death threats? Anyone try to grab you in hallway hotel lobbies?
No, I mean, Islam was pretty friendly afterwards. I was surprised, but I guess I never said anything too bad, it was pretty, it was just.
I think when you called him boring, that maybe didn't make it into the Russian newspapers. So I think we all dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Yeah, because he came up to you after the fight and you put up that great clip of, you explaining how to do a rear naked choke to him on your IG. But what actually went down there? Because I love your reaction when he came up to you. You did the old double take, look both ways. Kind of like, are you here to talk to me? Or what's going on?
I was confused because he came up, hugged me, and pretended to throw me. And then I thought the interaction was over. And then he came up again. That's why I was like, is this guy coming up? I was confused that he wanted to talk to me again. But he just made a joke. He's like, oh, you got to teach your boy how to escape back control. But I mean, obviously, he's happy after the fight getting the decision. I think maybe he wouldn't have been as friendly if he lost that one.
Yeah. I don't know how much you want to pull back the curtain, how much of the pre-fight interview was having a bit of fun and how much of it was 100% serious. Because I think people were fucking riled up in the comments. Let's just say that.
Oh, man. They were so upset about it. I mean, it's just, they think Dagestan is doing something no one else is doing. They talked a lot of shit to me, but at the end of the day, a submission is a submission, and the best submission artists aren't in Dagestan. They submit people because they exhaust people, really. But, it's not the best submissions in the world. Obviously, they're very good at what they do, but in a pure submission sense, you know what I mean? There's room for jiu-jitsu there. And also, obviously, they're really good at holding people down on the ground, but the best guys at holding people down are Folkstyle wrestlers, which Folkstyle is only done in America. So I think you got the best submissions of jiu-jitsu guys. The best guys at pinning people are Folkstyle guys, but obviously what Dagestan do so well is the takedowns combined with the judo, which I think is unique, their style of freestyle wrestling. So, I have a lot of respect for what those guys do, but you can't pretend that in some far off corner of the world, they've perfected the art of grappling.
All right, let's go into that fourth round, because this is a round that a lot of people are trying to sort of debate. And that is, of course, the round where Islam was able to keep Alex down. He had him in back control. He was able to put on that figure four. But there's also the argument to be made there that he didn't really do much from that position. And arguably, Alex was able to throw some shots. And for a lot of people that were watching that fight, it felt like he kind of won that round. What is your take on someone being able to get that position but really not doing much with it? Is that still a win for you? Break that down to us from your perspective.
I mean, it's the MMA scoring is so difficult to understand. I mean, you've got control and you've got damage there. And obviously, Volk's hitting him. He's doing damage, not doing a great deal of damage. Islam's controlling him. Islam's holding on. I mean, it's so up to the individual judge how they score. I mean, in my opinion, you have to give round 4 to Islam because he controlled most of the round. I mean, it's the same in a jiu-jitsu match. Sometimes you take a guy's back and you think to yourself, shit, if I try super hard to get the finish here, they might actually find a way to escape. And you're sort of like, oh, I'll just ride this out because I've won if I stay on the back. So I feel like Islam kind of secured the position and was just like, oh, I'm just going to accept this round, try and have a rest.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a massive gray area. I'm like you, man. I scored that round for Islam. I think most people did. Yeah. And as the rules are in MMA, it does go to Islam, right? Because it's kind of like a fight-ending position. It's not like guard. It's like you got the back, you got the body triangle. But at the same time, it's a discussion that is worth having, because it's like, well, like you said, that position wasn't used to finish the fight. Therefore, does it kind of nullify in a sense? Dennis, I think you got something you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to know, like, Craig, what were you thinking in that moment, man? Because, you're in the corner there and stuff, you're seeing it go down. It must be like a bit of a frustrating kind of experience for you in that round where you're like, all right, let's try and get this up, and you see him put that figure 4 on.
Especially because Islam put Alex near the fence as well, so he couldn't escape.
Yeah, I mean, Alex did an excellent job of never letting Islam get more than one single hook the entire fight, except for that moment. And I was pretty concerned when he took Alex's back. Pretty early on, I saw Islam went for a couple chokes. Volks was super confident. And then Islam, he does go for armbars. So I was kind of worried that he would pass off for an armbar near the end of the round. I mean, in the moment, you're super stressed. And all I'm thinking of is he going to submit Alex from here? But obviously, rewatching it, I think it's very clear. Or maybe watching it in a more calm state, if you're not so invested in each fighter, you sort of see that he really just wants to hold on. He just wants to get that round in the bag. But yeah, obviously it was a tough one, because you just see that round go to waste. But at the same time, you're like, all right, he survived. He's fresh. He's ready to go into the 5th. I think what's so interesting with this fight is, like, on the scorecards, you could give it to Islam, but like you kind of feel like as a pure fight, Alex kind of won, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like if you score the damage over the entirety of the fight, I feel like Alex did more damage, but because we're held to scoring each round individually, I think I have to rewatch the fight again. I got to watch it multiple times to really understand it. But obviously, I feel like the scorecards, it's like, for me, it was round 2 that was super difficult to work out who won. I feel like it's like 1-4 easily go to Islam. I felt like 3 and 5 go to Alex, and round 2 was the one that was really kind of hard to decide.
It's a tough one. Like, I know people have said, if it was Pride rules, you would sort of score it differently. And then I think, like, narrative-wise, like with Volk ending up on top, somebody commented something about, like, Volk ending the fight on the ground in a dominant position, raining down punches. And I think it's only because it's like the fight for number 1 pound for pound. You know what I mean? So if the smaller guy is ending up on top and looking fresh, narrative-wise, it just makes things interesting. But look, I'm like you, man. I did score it for Islam, especially watching it in real time. I'm just curious, like, what you thought of Volkanovski's grappling, purely because you guys trained for this fight for a while and you saw what he was doing in the training room. And I'm wondering, how well you believe that translated in the fight. Were you impressed? Were you surprised with anything? How well do you think it played out relative to, say, the game plan?
I mean, it was there are a lot of unknowns going in. Like, having trained with Volkanovski for quite a while now, obviously, like, he lives in Australia and stuff, but like, I'm very confident in his submission defense and just generally how resilient he is. Like, you tell him to do something, he's going to do it. And like, in a grappling sense, like you saw in the Ortega fight, if he's in a submission, he's not going to tap until he absolutely has to, or he's going to go to sleep. So I was real interested. I mean, I said before the fight, Ortega's submissions are better than Islam's, and everyone got super angry about that. But that is true. Like, I'm not saying Ortega's overall a better grappler. Positionally, Islam's a better grappler. But in a pure submission sense, in a pure danger sense, I don't think there's too many grapplers like Ortega in the sport that are that dangerous. Because if you looked at Ortega versus Volkanovski, he put Volks in maybe 4 submissions over the 5 rounds. Islam attempted a single choke. Like, there wasn't submission opportunities for him in this fight. But in terms of the extensive work we did tons of positional submissions, tons of wall wrestling, like so much wall wrestling we did in preparation for this. And I think you saw it really pay off. Like, Volks was really, really disciplined against the cage. Like, he didn't try to rush out of anything. Positionally, he kept his weight in good positions. And when he did hit the ground and hit a hip, he was able to bounce straight back up. But like you said, no matter how much prep you do, I mean, even we fall victim to it sometimes where we're like, oh my God, it's Khabib's team. Like, if he goes down, what's going to happen? But again, people are blinded. It's all marketing and mystery. We grew up watching Die Hard movies where the Russians are the villains, like it's, they have a scary a scary image to him, you know?
Dude, Russians are tough, man. They're just there is that whole thing of like, man, these people are just I hate to use a cliche, but built different, you know. And it's interesting, the whole Khabib thing, right? Because someone brought this up before the fight, like taking nothing away from Islam, but do you almost feel like because of Khabib's dominance, it almost translates into Islam's? Like people saw what that guy did, and they're like, oh fuck, here comes another one. Like he must be just as good. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like this fight, it kind of made Islam look a little bit human, at least relative to the pre-fight talk.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to watch those two guys train right now. In my opinion, I think Khabib's better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's, like, in terms of pure grappling, I think he's better. Islam's probably a better striker from what we've seen. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, Khabib fought Iaquinta and didn't come close to really any submissions, come close to finishing Iaquinta at all, you know? So it's like, again, Iaquinta's, I believe he's a Henzo guy. He's a really good grappler, but like he survived just fine against a guy that everyone's so terrified of. So it's like, I think still with both of these, Khabib and Islam, we haven't really seen enough of them to know how good they are on the ground. Because there might be other guys that Islam fights in the future that do really well on the ground with him. And like, again, I said it in the interview and people got mad. I said he submitted Charles because Charles was rocked. And I think you can see that in this fight as well. It's like, we don't know how good his submissions are. Like, you know, the guys he submitted aren't grapplers. Oliveira is, but Oliveira was basically unconscious by the time the submission was on.
Yeah, and a shout out to the coaching team, Joe, Huge, and of course the Hickman brothers who helped you sort of decipher this puzzle. Just on from what Casper said, I almost feel like you guys put a blueprint out there of, okay, this is the way to fight Islam Makhachev. And I feel like going in, it was that Mike Tyson effect that you mentioned where people were sort of afraid because of everything that Khabib has done and the team's done. But I feel like after that fight, you guys were able to kind of solve that and take away some of the mystery away from that. Do you kind of feel like that as well?
Yeah. I mean, we just sort of cracked that invincibility, you know? I mean, a lot of fighters go in and say, oh, Islam or Khabib, they're just another opponent. We don't need to treat them differently. But then when they get in there, they fight in a way that's sort of scared's the wrong word. They're just too cautious of what the other guy's good at. But like, I think Volkanovski, he's just mentally unbreakable in that sense. So it's like right up until 10 minutes all fight week, he's so chill, so relaxed. Doesn't even it's almost like he doesn't even understand what he's about to enter that weekend. So he just approaches Islam and treats him like he's any other guy. And I think he saw that. At no point was he overly cautious against Islam or anything like that. There was no fear of how good Islam's grappling was. He just saw him as a regular guy and used the correct techniques in the right moments.
I wonder, right? People are talking about a rematch, not necessarily immediate, but at least, you know, at some point. How different do you think that looks, knowing what you guys know now?
I would say the rematch favors Volks because I think, like Volks, the first grappling exchange they had, he yelled out to us, he goes, he's not that strong. But even Volks talking to us in the first 2 rounds, he did say he didn't push the escapes as hard as he did in the later rounds. And he believes that obviously if they were to fight again, he would approach the first 2 rounds the same as he approached the last 3. And I think that would be really interesting. I mean, the problem is it absolutely warrants a rematch, but it holds up 2 divisions to do it.
It's also a little narrative out there right now. We're not quite sure what's going on. We saw, Dan Hooker tweeted out some stuff about an IV being used and Islam being a cheater. Now, Islam's team's come back and said that that's not true. And we're still trying to figure out exactly what happened. And I guess over the next few weeks, maybe things will be presented. So, we're not saying that he did because, we weren't there. We don't have the proof. But I want to know your reaction when you saw Dan's tweet, when I guess someone from the team might have mentioned it to you. What was your reaction when you heard that he did that, potentially?
I mean, I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's so hard to know what goes on behind the scenes, what people get away with behind the scenes. You know, obviously, it's in people's favor sometimes to brush stuff under the rug. You know what I mean? But as far as I know, I haven't really followed too much of what's been released to the media. I mean, I don't know what smoking gun they have out there, but I did hear rumors that an Australian IV company did work with some Russian fighters leading up to this fight. I believe they led up. As far as I know, I believe there was IV use before the weigh-ins, and I think maybe even an IV bag left for afterwards. But again, like there's been no nurse or anything that's publicly come out and said anything, and I'm not entirely really, I don't really know, you know, like those guys. Obviously, I'm just a grappling coach. Like I think that's probably a management sort of thing. You know, I haven't delved too much into it, so I feel like it's better I not know. But my speculation, I mean, like obviously we've all seen Icarus. We all think I'm in one of the dirtiest sports in the world, you know. So it's like knowing what athletes are like. Like for a guy to find an advantage anywhere, I wouldn't put it past anyone really if they believe they could get away with it.
Just before we move off Alex, I just want to quickly say, and I want, you know, the performance that he put out there, the way that he handled himself during the week, the fact that he carried this whole card on his shoulders, you know, there's no doubt about it. He is the guy that people came to want to see. He was the main event. You know, unfortunately, Robin Costa didn't work out. He kind of promoted that fight, did 3,000 interviews, was a great guy throughout. I just want to get your thoughts. You know, you worked with this guy. Like, where does he rank for you in terms of, you know, the best fighters, the most incredible sort of fighters that you've worked with? Like, what is your thought on Alex, having been through this week with him and seeing what he was also able to do?
I mean, honestly, like obviously I've been following his career. I first met him, he came to Melbourne. I think I even trained with him before he was in the UFC. And I mean, his entire career just blows me away. I feel like time and time again, everyone counts him out, you know, like everyone just thinks, no, he can't do that. And he just proves everyone wrong consistently. And I mean, it just blows my mind because I believe he's 33, 34, but every fight he shows crazy new skills. Like his technical ability is insane. Like to me, he really went toe to toe with the grappling with Islam, and Islam's considered probably the most effective grappler in the sport. And that just blows me away, considering Volkanovski's a striker and considering what he did. Like a guy that did that to Max Holloway and then is able to hang in the grappling exchange with one of the best grappling fighters in the world. It blows me away. Even, I mean, obviously I believe in him. I believe he's going to be able to do the techniques we do, but he just surpasses my expectations every time. I think it's just rare to find an athlete like that. And not to mention, he's that good. He's just a genuinely cool guy. And I feel like in terms of famous people in general, let alone famous fighters, like there are a lot of douchebags. You guys probably work with a lot of douchebags in the sport. And I've just never had a single issue with Volkanovski, nor could I imagine I ever would.
Yeah, Volkanovski is like just the most insanely nice guy. Like there's just little things you notice about how much he cares about people and pays attention to people, even just like little things in social situations that he picks up on and kind of like, you know, subtly checks in on you and stuff like that. And he's been like that since before the UFC, and just, yeah, an insanely nice guy. Like he's an event that's all around him, and it has done nothing to his ego or personality whatsoever. Just the same guy. A
couple examples for that, right? It's like it's fight week and like we're obviously going around in the convoy of cars. He's jumping in the back seat because he's a littler guy leaving the front seat. Like we're all cramped, 3 guys in the back. We're going to dinners. Obviously, he's getting free dinners and stuff. We're staying at the Crown. They took us to like Nobu and the steakhouse there. He's taking the team out and watching us eat. He can't even eat. He's on Geordie's fight dietitian program. So it's like, to me, it's just crazy. Like it's fight week for him, and he's making sure we're having a good time.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even like when we came, and I think you boys were all there, and then like we were interviewing Joe and Eugene, and like, you know, Joe was like, I want a drink, get me a drink, and you know, everyone's like having a good time, and you just like, I want a drink too. And then Alex is the one who's like, what would you like? And then he grabbed a couple of Cokes, and he's like, you can have these, but they're warm. And you just like, are they yours? And he's like, they're warm. And he's like, but are they yours? And Volko didn't want to say it because he knew that Yuge would be like, nah, I don't want to steal your drink. So he kept trying to dodge that question because he just wanted Yuge to, like, you know, have a Coke, have a drink. So just such a nice guy. Whereas a lot of people could be like, this is my fight week. These are my drinks. Like, this is about me kind of thing. Also, speaking of another nice guy, we see you also working with Israel Adesanya, and you're predicting Flying Triangle as the finish. Care to elaborate on this one?
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think. I trained at City Kickboxing years ago, and we did some wall wrestling. I think I had a seminar there. I did some wall wrestling, trained with Izzy back then. And then, yeah, we had the session where I did some work with Volkanovski, and Izzy was there. Izzy, Carlos, and Hickman were up after they did some wall wrestling after the Volkanovski training session, and we sort of hung around, and then they put me in. So we just got to do some wall wrestling together, and yeah, just to see Izzy's grappling improvement from the first time I trained with him to now, just crazy. I mean, obviously Izzy's already Hall of Fame level guy. Like he just still puts in the work, and he's asking questions about what happened in the exchanges and stuff, you know, like just genuinely still curious about the technique and still cares about the sport. But yeah, he did go for a flying triangle on me. It was very close. So I mean,
were you surprised that he did that?
Yeah, definitely surprised, you know, but like, I mean, it just shows like he's obviously his striking techniques very, very fancy. He does a lot of fancy shit. It doesn't surprise me that he'd be drawn to some of the fancier grappling techniques too.
Wow, incredible. So off the wall he goes. You guys are grappling on the wall, and he jumps up for a flying triangle.
Yeah.
See, that's it, man. That's that championship level mentality. I can't wait to see him rematch Pereira, by the way. What do you reckon of this rematch? Do you have a feeling on how this one unfolds?
I mean, honestly, I imagine it goes a very similar way. Like, I mean, Izzy won. He definitely won, what, four of those rounds and just got finished at the end of the fifth. So I think, like, it's a tricky one for Pereira to make the adjustments for. You know, I think it's easier for Izzy to make the adjustments, keep doing what he's doing, stay safe, and obviously cruise to victory. I mean, he almost got the finish at the end of the first. So I think the adjustments, Izzy has to make less adjustments to win the rematch than Pereira does. So I think it definitely favors Izzy in the rematch. Obviously, there's a lot of personal beef going into that one, so a lot of pressure, but Izzy's obviously had an entire career dealing with pressure like that.
Oh, I think Israel handles pressure just fine. I don't think it was pressure that led to the outcome of that fight, but dude, it's going to be a phenomenal rematch regardless. Speaking of pressure, let's just take a little bit of pressure off you guys, because I know everybody typically fails their New Year's resolutions, but here's one you can keep: proper hygiene and building yourself the best confidence that you possibly can with our good friends at Manscaped. Over 7 million other men trust them with their balls, and you should too, with the pound-for-pound greatest grooming tool in the world, the Lawnmower 4.0, with its ceramic blade, the skin-safe technology to avoid nicks and cuts, the LED lights so you can light up a video shoot if you want, the waterproof features, and the wireless charging dock so you can toss it like a ninja on that charging dock and just move on with your life. And you take your smooth balls with you, and the Platinum Package 4.0, the best value yet for yourself, your hygiene, and your confidence with the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer itself, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Ultra Premium Body Wash, Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, Ultra Premium deodorant, Crop Preserve Anti-Chafing Ball deodorant, Crop Reviver Ball Spray toner, and the free gifts of the boxes and the Shed travel bag. Easy way to get extra confidence and your balls licked. Isn't that right, Dennis?
That's right, man. And by the way, you have everything that you'll ever need in that pack. So jump on and grab one today. 20% off if you use the code word submission. Free shipping, and plus you're supporting the program. So jump on and do it today and change your life thanks to Manscaped today, Cass.
That's right. While you're saving your nuts, don't forget to save yourself from pesky trackers and people who might be trying to steal your information and steal your credit card details. You know how you're browsing those fancy websites with the phenomenal articles, but then it says like, local horny MILFs wanting to meet you in the 20K area, and then you're like, how do you know my suburb? It's the trackers, damn it, it's the trackers, man. And if they're tracking your location, think about what else they can track: your internet search history. Now you're about to go to jail. Don't let any of those things happen, okay? Use NordVPN, protect yourself from all sorts of trackers, and also the benefit of geo-blocking and geolocation with one touch of a button. You ever want to watch a video, you want to watch BT Sport, their great coverage of boxing, MMA, or whatever, and you can't because it says, the stream or whatever is not available in your country. Well, with geolocation, you can change that with one touch of a button. You might live in Australia, but with a touch of a button, bang, now in the UK, you can watch BT Sport. Works for Netflix, even saves you money. The same things cost different things. Same things cost different prices in different countries. Isn't that right, Dennis?
That's right, man. Fake horny MILFs in your area eat your heart out because NordVPN is celebrating their 11th birthday. So not only do you guys get to enjoy NordVPN, but right now you can grab a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus a birthday bonus gift as well. Don't miss out on this one. Go to nordvpn.com/submission or go and click the link in the description below. And don't forget, it's completely risk-free, unlike those MILFs in your area, with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Best app in the business. What are you waiting for? Get on NordVPN today.
That's right. All right, with the MILFs out of the way, Craig, appreciate your time, by the way. I know you're back in Austin now. What are some cool things that people need to look out for now that you're back in Austin, aside from the OnlyFans, which they can access anyway?
Aside from I'm back in Austin. Problem is, when I come back to Austin, I don't get to do anything fun. I'm always traveling around so much that I spend 7 days a week at the gym. But I try to flex on all the Australians, buy as many guns as possible. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Stir up the people back home. That's probably the most fun thing you can do in Texas, I'd imagine, just shooting guns.
Well, we know Just Stand Up is your latest instructional, so we're going to ask, what's the follow-up name to the next one? What's it going to be? Maybe Just Pull Out? Maybe a way to deal with bad positioning?
just pull out. Actually, that's another good one for Austin because they just banned abortion.
Perfect. See?
Bad.
Instructional. See? And good timing as well. Helps everybody. Also, you're going to be doing some seminars in Thailand, right? That's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. I got a camp, Absolute MMA in Thailand. Then I'll pop up, see the boys at Bang Tao. They'll kill me if I don't go say hello.
The Hickman brothers.
The Hickman bros, yeah. I always stir Frank up. I'm always like, bro, I'm actually the wrestling and the grappling coach for Volkanovski. He gets really upset about it, but it's I do enjoy it. But yeah, then back to Australia to do some seminars and stuff, and then obviously wait to hear. I'm real interested to see what happens next. I got to imagine it's the Yair Rodriguez fight for Volks, but at the same time, like, it would be great to have that rematch. They should make Dariush and Yair fight interim lightweight title, interim catchweight title.
Well, yeah, exactly. We just spoke to Dariush. Like, all the questions about hypothetical fights getting in his way, stressing out poor Dariush, who's like the nicest guy. Imagine that. All right, you can fight for a belt, but it's a catchweight belt. I want to see Dariush get that title shot only because he's such a nice guy. But hey, at some point, you gotta see that Volkanovski rematch with Islam.
For sure, yeah. Dariush, super nice guy. I trained with him years ago. Obviously, he was a really good competition grappler before he went to MMA and stuff. Really nice guy. And the way he was rolling to leg entries on Gamera, I think he does pose interesting grappling problems for Islam. Islam striking looks pretty good, so even Islam Beneil on the feet it'd be interesting as well.
Apparently, I heard a guy in an interview during fight weeks talk about how they're terrified of heel hooks. So who knows what's going to happen in this one. All right, man, as we wrap, we know you took to this Islam prep seriously. No masturbating to Gabby Garcia. I just want to know, is it nice to return back to the normal swing of things back there in Austin?
For sure. Obviously, my grips are fatigued for training again. Let's just say that. It's been a rough road back.
All right, man. Follow the man on Instagram at Craig Jones BJJ. Dude, one of the funniest, most hilarious, and also informative accounts. If you're not already, what are you doing with your life? Craig, what a legend you are, man. Thanks so much for chatting with us. The pleasure, honestly, was ours. And thanks so much for your time this past week at Fight Week as well.
Awesome. Thanks, boys.